Welcome back to another Take 5 with Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden, and in a few moments, I'll be back to tell you how the online news registry is here. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Well, you just saw that subscribe button. Before I get into the guts of the program today, I do want to remind you that I am seeking your support, and you can join at the $5 level. As low as the $5 level. Of course, we'd appreciate more, but you can do that at davidkrayden.substack.com. That's my Substack page. That's where I put all of my audio files I'm doing with the George Orwell book, for instance, right now. I've been reading that every day, and the response has been phenomenal. I also do original columns and original work on Substack. I encourage you to have a look and become a member. Subscribe. And we also have the $5 level at YouTube. Of course, you can do more. We always appreciate it. And buy me a coffee, another option at the $5 level or more. But I've got to repeat this, and I'm always being told, you don't talk about the money enough, David. And I don't, because it's not something I've ever had to do. As a working journalist, as an Air Force officer, I never really had to raise money. But I've got to do it now because I tell you, and that's really what we're talking about today, is that what can happen to people like myself, independent news broadcasters who are doing this, and Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government are out to get us. And while I'm reminding you of that, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, ring the bell, because if you do that, we're beating Trudeau's censorship. And that's what we're talking about today. You remember Bill C-11, the Online Streaming Act? Remember that? And it was all about Canadian content and how it was going to make, we're going to ensure that we're going to read Canadian news the rest of our lives. Well, the CRTC, Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunications Commission, oh, yes, I remembered, they came out on Friday with a declaration of that they are going to start producing an online news registry. But don't worry, folks. If you're not making $10 million a year, you won't have to register by the November 28th deadline. However, folks, when you read the information, it appears very tenuous that this threshold, as they like to call it, is in fact going to stay very much of a threshold. And I'm very concerned about what's going on here, because I believe we are seeing the beginning of a massive online registration on par with what the Chrétien government did with the long gun registry. This is all about seeing who is out there broadcasting nasty things about Justin Trudeau and the Trudeau government. The CRTC is supposed to be a regulatory agency, an arm's length from the government, but it's clearly pushing and promoting the Liberal policies here. It's creating an online news registry, and that has not been lost by a lot of journalists and commentators around the world. And I encourage you to read my piece in the Post Millennial today. Could be up by now. And we explain a bit more of it there. But Michael Geist, fantastic professor of law at the University of Ottawa, is studying this problem comprehensively, and he has put an excellent piece out in Substack today. It's Michael Geist. I encourage you to read that. Have a look at what he's saying, because this is all about the survivability of independent news, newscasters, broadcasters. Exactly what I'm doing. Am I concerned? Of course I'm concerned. I don't come on here and tell you lies. There's no misinformation, disinformation here. I don't use clickbait so you'll come to the station by telling you every week that Justin Trudeau is resigning or Justin Trudeau is out of here. I say he should resign, but I'm under no illusion he's going to do that, especially when he's getting no pressure to do so from the Conservative opposition. They were still looking for an apology from Trudeau, not a resignation over this Nazi Waffen-SS fiasco, which remains front and center. And we're going to continue to talk about that this week. There's fresh information about that. But in terms of internet censorship, C11 is coming to pass exactly as we predicted. It is going to be a means, a mechanism to control the internet, to ensure that people are not allowed to say what they want to say, to produce the news they want to produce. It's not just about Canadian content. If it was just about Canadian content, I wouldn't worry. 90% of my material is Canadian content. I'm not worried about that. I cover the Parliament Hill. I cover the federal government largely. Sometimes provincial news, sometimes municipal news, sometimes U.S. news. But 75 to 90% of the time, it's federal Canadian news. So I'm not concerned about that. I am concerned about internet censorship because there's worse coming with a bill coming. It hasn't been named yet, but in its previous incarnation, and they tried to get it through the first time. It was called the Online Safety Act. And guess what? That bill has just passed. Same bill, same name, same effects, same objectives, which is to silence independent media by saying, hey, we don't like your news. We're going to call it malinformation. They're actually using that word in Britain. Call it misinformation, call it disinformation, call it whatever you want, but it's what the government says they're going to ban, they're going to prosecute, they're going to stop, they're going to censor, and that's what this next bill is going to be about. It's going to be about shutting down people who disagree with the Trudeau government. And that's coming, and we have got to stop it. We've got to get rid of Trudeau before this bill comes into effect. It's going to be more difficult to repeal than it is simply to stop it before it happens. And we need people to be educated about this. We need people to know what's happening. They have had study groups for a year looking at this bill and how they're going to sell it. And they've already decided, and I've mentioned this before, but I got to mention it again. They've already decided they will not define disinformation in this bill because that will make it too hard to prosecute people. So what will disinformation be? Whatever Justin Trudeau and his minions say it means. I am going to stick to a short broadcast today. We're going to go back to Parliament Hill tomorrow for question period. The trial is on hold this week. The Freedom Trial, as I've been calling it. The Freedom Convoy leaders, Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. It's on hold till October the 11th. We'll be back there covering it and back there broadcasting after the trial. But it's on hold for a week, another week, till after Thanksgiving. And we're going to be covering a lot of different angles this week. And I'm hoping to broadcast just about every day about these things. So thanks for listening today. Once again, I need your support. You can support this station, and I appreciate it. And those people who have donated in a large way, thank you. Thank you so much. It's appreciated, and it's appreciated from the bottom of my heart, because I tell you, I couldn't do this without your support, and we need the station to grow, not decline, because we're going to tell Justin Trudeau where he can put his censorship bills. And that's our main thrust this fall, is to maintain freedom of speech. Because if we lose freedom of speech, we lose our democracy. We lose our Canada. We have very little left. He's already tried to destroy freedom of assembly and freedom of protest, basically the same thing, with the Freedom Convoy and putting people on trial for doing absolutely nothing except peaceful protesting. That's all from me today. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'll see you here for question period at around 2 o'clock. Don't miss it. There will be some witty and insightful analysis. Thanks again for listening today. God bless you. And